welcome back once more to another episode of OneSet Klavier. In this video, we'll be having 3 topics which we will be discussing in this video, and I hope that you would be able to catch up, to pick up, and to understand everything that I will be discussing to you all. So let's get started. Today, we will be discussing about how to build worship teams. Now, we have actually experienced this before. We had this problem when it comes to finding participants in our worship service, especially during the pandemic. We had a hard time looking for participants, and we thought, why not build worship teams whose members are very active students and faculties, and we were able to look for about almost 30 plus, and we had solved our problem when it comes to church participants. After reading this topic that I've searched out, I was able to identify that these were some of the things that we actually did when we were looking for people at this time. Now, worship teams actually contain members who are, let's just say, know how to sing, or know how to play an instrument, or knows how to lead out in a particular worship service, who knows how to handle things or how to lead out, especially if they were specifically given a task to pray or to give up a special number or be the speaker for the service, and a lot of things which require a worship team to have members who are willing to serve. Now, here are the questions that you need to ask yourself if you are looking for members in building your worship team or creating your worship teams. Now, first, the questions that you need to consider is how many people or how many members will you be taking in your team. Now, for me, it depends on how many are you looking for. It depends upon your situation or your need of individuals in your team. You may go for 10 or 15 members, or probably 20. For me, when we were looking for members, we had like 30. So that's quite a lot already. I mean, the more the merrier probably, but you need to know how to disseminate their parts evenly so that none of your members will be repeated to participate in the church services or the worship services. So it's important that you need to think of how many people will you allow or will you allocate in your team. You should also consider of who you are going to recruit or to find. Either it can be a singer, vocalist, a musician. It depends on what your goal is of who are those individuals whom you'll be looking for or who you need in your worship teams. Next question that you should be considering is the type of community that you want to build or the culture of your team. So you need to have a goal. What kind of worship team do you want to build? Do you want to create? Is it a very active one? Is it members that are usually youth? Now, it's very important to plan it out of who are the members, what are your goals, what are your visions, what are your mission as a worship team. These things that you need to consider first before establishing a worship team. Now, after planning out everything, the number of members that you will allocate in your team, or who will be your members, will it be musicians or vocalists or other individuals needed in your worship teams, and if you have already considered what your mission is, what your vision is, or what is your goal, or what is your plan, why or reason why you made your worship team, you could go on to the next question, which is where do you find your team members or your productions or volunteers or musicians and vocalists. Now, if you're going to ask me, well, we didn't had much of a problem when it comes to looking for members. Well, we only had to use the social media and announce it there. One of the simplest forms of disseminating information, that we were looking for members for our worship team, any volunteers who would like to join the group. These are some of the things that we had actually executed when we were looking for members. And it says here that humble yourself and pray and ask God that He will provide. Very important, you need to pray for it. If you are unable to look for members, or your goal is to look for specific members for your worship team, the only thing that is left for you to do, probably the only thing left, if it's that you have no more options, is to pray to God. But it doesn't mean if you don't have any options, you'll only go pray to the Lord and ask for Him to provide. No, even before you look for your members to make your worship team, you need to pray for it, what your plan is, what your goal is, where to find these people. You need to ask the Lord that He will provide them. And it says here, it is right there in your congregation. So before you search outside of your community, it's important to begin searching inside your community. Very most important. You don't need to work yourself up to look for people outside, for members outside. You could actually have it in your own community, in your own church, in your own congregation. You'll never know. One of them are actually willing, one of them are actually talented. You could recruit them, you could ask for their help. Now, if you have already attained all of these things, you are able to scout out your members for your worship team. The next question goes like this: how to ask them or give them notice about your goal to make a worship team? At what approach? Now, this is very important in how you approach the individual. How would you invite him to your group? We have a list here of how you would do that in a formal way. It says here, bulletin announcements printed on something, or weekly handouts saying you're looking for musicians, vocalists, production volunteers, or whatever it is what you're looking for. But though this is not enough yet, for only a few would respond to it. Exactly. So this actually is one effective method, distributing maybe pamphlets or booklets or handouts that has also a post or a mess. Posted in the handouts that they can read that you're looking for members. Next is platform announcements. You could actually tell them about your mission and your goal and that you're looking for members through the social media platform or through an actual platform, which is during the services. You could ask someone to announce it, or you could personally announce it in front of the stage. But of course, you need to ask for permission first from someone of a senior, probably specifically a head pastor. And lastly, one of the most effective approaches is asking them personally, but not in desperation. It is very effective way in order for you to explain everything to that individual whom you may think that he or she has a potential or has the gift, the talent that can contribute in the worship team.